Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Let's have some fun. Story brought to you by IR Nixon. Kathy Greenbrier is a strong teenager who woman handles 3 boys in one day. Carolyn Langford was one of the most successful businesswomen in the Valley. 20 years ago, she started a shop for women that specialized in wedding dresses and formal gowns. The store was an instant success, and Carolyn's business skills allowed her to expand to 5 shops in 4 years. Today, she had over 25 shops in a 150-mile radius. She still spent most of time in the main store, not because she had to, her staffs were always highly trained, but because she enjoyed and took great pride in working with her clients. Her latest challenge was a muscular 16-year-old girl who needed a prom dress. The problem was that her shoulder and arms were so big that most women's clothes did not fit properly. She was only 5 and 7 inches, but she had 17 inches biceps and huge shoulders. A sleeved dress would not work because of her large arms. A strapless dress would highlight her massive shoulders. Carolyn had finally discovered the solution. A strapless dress with a small flared cape. This hid her shoulders and the upper arms. Her son David could hardly not notice the figure before him. He even had to smile when he saw her huge upper body spilling out from the top of the strapless gown. This was the 3rd gown she had tried today, all with the same results. She finally settled on first gown Carolyn had found for her. When Kathy went back to the changing room, David remarked to his mother that Kathy looked like Hercules in drag. Carolyn glared at him and told him never to say anything like that again. David and his mother did not always get along too well. David's parents were divorced 10 years ago, and David opted to live with his father in Boston. When David was 17, he moved back with his mother. His mother had not paid much attention to David. David's mother made him work at the shop, mainly helping with inventory and running the cash register. At first, David thought it would be a great place to meet women, and it was. One day, David was caught with a young employee in the back of the shop doing what normal 17-year boys do with 17-year-old girls. His mother then forbade him to date any employees or clients. It seemed David was gifting the young ladies from the inventory. Carolyn went back to the dressing area. She noticed Kathy was leaving. She noticed the size of Kathy and got an idea. "Kathy, you know you could earn your new outfit for free if you wanted to." "How?" answered Kathy, intrigued by the idea of not having to pay a healthy sum for the outfit. "My son David is getting a bit disrespectful of women lately, and I thought, well, you look like you could give him a lesson in respect. What did you have in mind?" The two discussed the next step, and Kathy giggled at the thought. Carolyn departed to the front of the store, and Carolyn motioned the other girls up front. A few seconds later, Kathy was standing next to David. "I won't be needing this one," she said. "The color just isn't right," she informed David. "I understand you think I look like Hercules in drag?" she asked. "Oh," David said shyly. He was furious, his mother told her. "Well, I'm going to teach you a lesson." Kathy was surprised how fast things started to happen. She grabbed his left arm and spun him into a hammerlock, moving his arm up 3/4 of the way to his neck. She then bent him over a table full of scarves. Next, she took the strapless gown and slid his right arm through the bottom of the gown. She then pulled the gown up over his right shoulder, then over his head and down his left arm. She grabbed his right arm and placed that arm in a hammerlock while she released his left arm. She then left dress drop past his left arm. The gown was now resting near his waist. She released her hammerlock. She then grabbed the sides of his pullover knit shirt and pulled his shirt up, half removing it. With the shirt immobilizing his arms, she slid the dress up to just a few inches armpits. She reached down and zipped the zipper. Next, she clasped the clasp at the top. David seemed to be in shock. He had not even realized what had happened. Next, Kathy finished removing his shirt. With his shirt off, she pulled both arms behind his back and forced him face down on the floor. She then knelt astride of him. She used the scarves to bind his hands firmly behind his back. She stood him up, moved him over to a clothing rack. She pulled a sash from the rack and tied end to the immovable rack and tied the other end around his waist. She then quick-gathered his long hair into a girlish ponytail near the top of his head and tied it tightly with a scarf. Then she noticed a tester bottle, Midnight Diamond perfume. She could resist giving him a few shot behind his ears. She then moved a full-length portable 3-view mirror in front of him. David was almost in tears. When he saw himself, he was shocked. He was in a formal gown. The full length covered his shoes and pants. His hair was drawn up into a ponytail, and there was a bright pink scarf holding the ponytail in position. "Now, who looks like the drag queen?" she demanded. When he did not answer, she asked again sternly, "I do. But you ain't no Hercules, that's for sure," she giggled. She placed her large bicep in front of his face and stated, "I want you to kiss the muscles that did this to you." He kissed her bicep. She then turned, flexed the other, one, and made him kiss that one. She then reached down and untied him, leaving him in front of the mirror but still tethered to the clothing rack. She then did one more step to degrade him even more. "I'm going to leave you here to admire your new look. You are not to move for 3 minutes. If I return in 3 minutes and you're not here, I will find you and we will go on a little stroll down the mall," she warned him as she left. She then went to the front of the store. On the way, she smiled at Carolyn and nodded. "Here you go, my girl. Your son didn't like that lavender dress either. Too bad you missed seeing what I did to him. You can see him now. I don't think he will be leaving for a minute or two." "Oh, we did see it all right here on the security camera, and we have it on tape." "Great. Can I see?" "Sure." She showed Kathy the entire videotape. Kathy was amazed the entire thing took only 68 seconds. 2 of the salesgirls rushed back to see. David was standing rigidly in front of the mirror. They acted shocked even though they had seen the tape. "David, what happened to you? Who did this?" David still stood motionless. Shortly, 4 other girls and Carolyn arrived. Sharon, a tall blonde, stated as if reporting the event of the year. "It was just awful. I mean, horrible. I saw the rerun on the security camera. I mean, she just handled him like he was a little child. She only took a minute or two, and she just put him right in that dress like she was dressing up a Barbie doll. Then she tied him to this rack and made him kiss her muscles. It was really bad. We should call the police and get that girl arrested." "You mean that girl that just left? I know her, she's only a teenager." "Yes, but David was no match for her. I mean, she made him wear this dress, and look at that ponytail she made him wear." Monica, the tallest one, told David, "You know, you should have yelled, 'We would have helped you.' I'm fairly strong, and I might have been able to pull her off you." David suspected, correctly, that this was all put on, and that they were enjoying this, and that he was going to hear about it for a long time. Carolyn finally spoke. "David, go change and then go home and clean up. You won't have to come back until 3 when I go to the bank." He quickly removed the dress and scarf, replaced his shirt, and departed. He could not wait until he go home and remove that perfume smell. When he left, Carolyn and the girls doubled over in laughter. "I think he learned some respect for womanhood today." Carolyn laughed. On her way home, Kathy could not believe her luck. She got even with that little loser that called he Hercules in drag, but also saved a bit of money. When she arrived home, she noticed her brother Ted talking on the phone. "Really? No shit?" he asked into the phone. She made him go through with it. "I bet he's really pissed. Hey, later, gotta go." "Hey, Kathy, how are doing?" "Just fine. You ain't gonna believe what happened. Mike Crommon's sister beat him at arm wrestling, and they had a bet, and if he lost, he had to get a perm in the mall, no less." "Really? So how does he like his new perm?" "I don't know, but any guy who gets beat by his sister should have a perm." "Why?" Kathy asked. "I could beat you, and you would not expect to get a perm, would you?" "Bullshit, you could beat me." "You want to bet like your pal Mike and find out?" she teased. "Okay, go on. You beat me, I get a perm. I beat you, get to clean my room for a month." "Deal." They sat facing each other. They gripped and started to pull. At first, Ted, who was a year younger and track star, seemed to be getting the best. However, in a few seconds, the match started to shift the other way. Kathy was slowly gaining the advantage. In few more seconds, Ted started to get a horrified look on his face. He knew his fate was doomed. He finally capitulated. "I don't believe it. Where did you get those muscles? Hard work, curly locks. Sis, about that bet, are you going to hold me to it? Of course I am. Well, how does next month sound? I really can afford it now. Today, bro. And forget that money excuse, I'll pay for it. Tell you what, Issy, how about double or nothing? What do you mean, double or nothing? You can't get 2 perms? No, John, he's coming home in an hour. If you can talk him into the bet, we both end up with perms. If he wins, I'm off the hook. Let me think about that. For Kathy, it was a tough choice. Watching Ted get his hair curled in a salon would be too good to miss. However, watching them both would be even greater, especially John. She was still pissed at him for humiliating her in front of friends last year. She borrowed his vet without his permission. He knew she had it, he admitted that later, but he called the cops and she got booked in front of the drive-in. So watching him permed until he squirmed would be real revenge. Ted then added the sweetener. You know John goes with a shampoo girl at Styles by the Group sometimes, so he might not go along. She took the bait. Okay, I'll do it if John will go along. I'll do the talking, though. You keep your mouth shut. When John arrived, Kathy confronted him. Hey, your little brother just got his ass whooped at arm wrestling by me. He was stupid enough to bet me a perm that he could beat me. He lost. So you are going to have a curly-headed brother. He is scared, though. He even wanted me to arm wrestle you in a double or nothing match. If you win, he is off the hook. If I win, you both get perms. I said you weren't stupid and had desire to join him at the beauty shop. What makes you think I would end up there? Because the bet is if I win, you both have to get permed. You don't think I could beat you? No, I don't think you can. Okay, little sis, let's go. Ted looked on as the two started. This match was different than his. John pushed her nearly halfway down early and continues almost touching the table. However, soon she started to return, and slowly they were upright again. In a few minutes, she was gaining the lead. In a burst of power, she pushed his arm to the table. Get your purses, girls, it's time for your new curls, she stated in triumph. Kathy went to the phone and called the salon. She had arranged the appointments for an hour later. Okay, that will be with Anne and Julie. Okay, sissies, we got to leave now. Kathy was really enjoying this. She then remembers that the money she saved could easily pay for the perms. She wanted to get them there early so they would have to wait and watch others. This would add to the embarrassment, since they would know how they would look to other. Upon arriving, they were escorted to a waiting area. She points to 2 younger women with a head full of rods and reminded them they would be looking like that in a little while. She also found a magazine with pictures of curly hair on women and asked which ones they liked. She also reminded them the curls would grow out in a year. Finally, Ted was escorted to a chair and Kathy went along. She met with Anne. We had an arm wrestling match, and I guess you can figure who won. They really don't know much about this, so I think a nice curly perm would work best. Okay, Anne replied. Ted was escorted to the shampoo area in a few minutes and started wrapping him. The timing was great for Kathy. About 10 minutes later, Julie escorted John to his chair. Kathy repeated the same routine. What was great was that John could see Ted and know what was going to happen to him in short time. Since Ted was starting to get more and more rods in his hair, John knew what he would look like soon. Kathy reasoned this must have increased the misery for John. Before long, Ted's wrapping was complete. Anne wrapped him in cotton and applied the perming solution. She then set the timer and placed a plastic cap on his head. Too late now, Kathy thought. A short time later, Julie did a nearly identical thing to John. Kathy had seated herself so she could watch them both. Ping, went the first timer. Ted was escorted to the shampoo area. Where he sat, only a few people could see him. Now he would have to walk through the entire saloon in front of several women. Kathy thought this was great, and she thought Ted must be humiliated to pieces by now. However, it was his own arrogance that causes his problem. Anne rinsed his hair thoroughly and applied the neutralizer and reset the timer. The second timer sounded while John was being rinsed. Anne removed the rods, let the neutralizer work a few minutes more, and then escorted Ted back to her station. Kathy could now see the results for the first time. Ted's hair was a mass of wet, tight curls. Kathy could hardly contain herself. Next, Anne cut some of loose ends from Ted's, placed a diffuser over her blow-dryer, and dried Ted's hair. Julie would follow in a nearly identical procedure. However, Julie was a little faster than Anne during the final styling, and Ted was a little fussier than John. As a result, Ted was finished only a few minutes before John and decided to wait before he went to the waiting area. Kathy had decided to wait until they were finished to see the final product. Ted and John both examined their new styles, seeing a full cap of curls in the mirror for the first time. Kathy started to reflect on her day. She still could not believe what she had done so far to the male egos. She had left one in a most compromising position and left no doubts as to who wore the pants. She mused as the puns raced through her mind. He looked so formal when she left him. He was bound to be discovered, though. Of course, her brother had to learn the hard way not to underestimate her. This gave new meaning to the expression, spare the rod and spoil the child. Now her two little brothers had 6 months' worth of curls to remind them who was the ass-kicker in the family. Suddenly, she noticed a man sitting next to her. She smiled a polite smile and said, "Hello." The athletic-looking tall teenager turned towards Cindy and introduced himself. "Hi, I'm Brent. Brent James, how do you do?" "Fine, I'm Kathy Greenbrier," she replied. She wished her brothers were not finished. She really wanted to meet this guy. "So, Kathy, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this?" he asked in a humorous tone. "Oh, I'm waiting for my brothers to get finished." She pointed to the far end of the shop. Her brothers had just finished taking one last look in the mirror. "There they are now, the two with the curly perms," she said as she pointed towards them. "Oh, sonic waves. They look great. I see your brothers are up to date." "Sonic waves?" she asked, puzzled. "Yeah, it's the newest style. A lot of college kids are getting them. I'd get one myself, expect on my budget $50 is a lot of money when you're going to college. Here you can see for yourself." He handed her a copy of Men's Hair Today magazine. She looked at the photo and realized that John and Ted had a style similar to the ones featured in the magazine. As they were approaching, Ted turned to John and bragged, "See, I told you it would work. She's going to be pissed when she learns what we did, and it cost her $100. "I didn't believe you at first, little brother." "But you were right again," John remarked, admiring his new style. "Those losers," she thought, and then wanted to kick herself for being so stupid. "They set me up and made me pay for what they wanted all along. I bet Ted is the one behind this. He's the damn con man in the family." Carolyn looked at agreement, still not believing her eyes. She could still not reconcile what had transpired in the last 6 hours. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for early access and exclusive content.